Today we are talking about creating a financially healthy cleaning business. And I have a lot to say about this topic. I will try to get through it all and leave some more time for questions. Without further ado, let's get into it. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Stephanie. I own Serene Clean, and I opened my business 5 years ago, and with the goal of it being a side hustle. Now we are at over $1.4 million in revenue, and I have a lot of thoughts about finances and business. So my goals for you today are to have actionable items, and I actually created a whole checklist that we're going to put into the live chat at the end. And that's a worksheet for you guys that goes over all of the resources that I'm going to talk about, all of the recommendations I have, and that's going to basically give you something to work off of, as well as having a link to this actual presentation that I have pulled up for you. So you won't miss anything. Don't feel the need to be writing down notes or anything like that. You'll be able to have all of these resources and action items after. The first thing I want to talk about is mindset around money, because I think it is very easy to talk about logical things when it comes to money, but we have a lot of emotions around money. Everybody has a different upbringing. Everybody has different experiences with their finances, whether that be personal or professional. And let's talk about it, because however you grew up with money will determine a lot of your subconscious behaviors, and that has a lot to do with how successful you are going to be in business. So money's a tool, and business is a beautiful thing. I think in our society, it is seen as negative. It is always portrayed as negative, like the big bad business guy coming after the little people. And so I like to flip the narrative. And obviously there are bad businesses out there, but business is inherently a beautiful thing. Us coming together and trading valuable services and goods for money. So if you've been raised to not talk about money or to associate the topic with stress and scarcity, it's going to be very difficult for you to sell and not feel shame or bashfulness around this topic. So my personal upbringing with money and its effects on how I ran the business, overall, I had a really good foundation when it came to financial knowledge. I had Dave Ramsey beaten into me from my parents from a very young age, because that's how they got out of debt. And so they taught me some really good foundational skills when it came to budgeting, not spending more than you bring in, living within your means, all of the things that we need to know as business owners. So I had a great foundation with that. But when it came to mindset around work and earning, my parents, I love them. They are workaholics. My dad is a business owner. My mom works in a traditional setting, and the more work, the better was always the mindset. Whether they said that or not, it was just, that's what they did. And nobody had hobbies, just work more. And so I remember even as like a child during summer break, me and my brother would be like sitting watching TV, and we'd hear the door open because my dad's shop, his workshop was across the way from our house, and we would leap off the couch and quickly find something to look like we were doing something, even if there was nothing to do, like sweeping the couch. I don't know, just because the guilt of relaxing, I still that's taken a long time for me to unpack and get away from that. It's okay to relax and enjoy. So though this seems, kind of not related, it is of like, I was a workaholic. I thought that I needed to work all the time to be valuable. And that served me well in the beginning of the business when I had to hustle. It is a lot of work to start a business, but now coming into like, what do I want it to be when it comes to my life? That doesn't serve me anymore. And additionally, when it came to charging high enough prices, I did not think that people would pay the prices that we are charging. When I opened, I was charging 30 per man hour. It's like, nobody's going to pay this. I didn't believe in it. And so it's very difficult to sell something when you think in your mind, nobody's going to pay this. Nobody has the money for this, because I didn't have the money to pay $30 per man hour. So I assume everybody else thinks just like I do. And that's simply not the case. As we all know, because we've all got clients who will gladly pay our prices. Now we charge $55 per man hour. And I just the other day got an email saying, oh, this is so affordable. What a budget friendly thing. And it's just like, our definition of affordability is all different. So don't use people's words to determine how much we're charging. Secondly, when it comes to paying highly, I pay as high as I possibly can. I cannot talk to my parents about what I pay my staff because they scoff at it. They think that that is crazy to be paying cleaners that work is not worth that. They come from a different time. Obviously, they're not like ancient, but what the market demands when it comes to paying nowadays is very different than even 10 years ago. So paying 20 plus an hour plus full benefits is crazy to my parents' generation when it's like unskilled labor, right? But that's what needs to happen. So I just don't talk to them about that. Overall, when it comes to my mindset with money in the business is having an open hand when it comes to money. And this has shaped the business. And one of my mentors a long time ago, he literally exemplified this. He's like, when you tightly hold on to your money like this, yeah, you're holding on to every dollar, but nothing can come in with that tight fist. And so having that open hand, I literally think about that anytime I'm being particularly cheap. And frugality is a wonderful thing, and we will talk about that, but having, I guess, an abundance mindset, I don't even like using that word, but that is truly how I feel. And remember, we are providing a valuable service to our clients and our community. It's your job as the business owner to educate them on the value so that the ones that do have that buying power choose you. It's our job to show them why we are valuable. We believe it, and we need to educate them, because you may be the best cleaner in the world. Your team may be awesome, but if you are not communicating that effectively through your marketing and branding efforts, it doesn't matter. So obviously that's a whole nother can of worms. And the point being, you need to believe that your service is worth what we are charging. You need to really feel that in your bones. I'm going to split up this whole presentation by action items and this is going to be on that checklist. So you guys don't have to worry about writing all this stuff down. So something that I would love to hear from you, if you are comfortable sharing in the comments so we can all garner each other's experiences. And something I want you to do is write out, so type up in a Google Doc or literally pen and paper, write out what your upbringing consciously or subconsciously taught / made you feel about money. You can't shift this until you're aware of it. And yeah, share it in the comments. I know this is kind of like a deep question to start off with, but I would love to hear, we all have such different upbringings when it comes to money, and that definitely will shape how we behave in the business. I'm going to have a lot of book recommendations in here, because when I started out, books were my friend. They still are my friend. I listen to books all the time. So, no shade to anybody, but if you are a crime podcast listener while you are cleaning, let's get some books in there. So when I was cleaning, I was always listening to books, and this really helped me. And so, this shaped the business. So these two ones, when it comes to mindset, Thou Shalt Prosper by Rabbi Daniel Lapin, and then The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. Those books are amazing. Thou Shalt Prosper is a little heavier. I would suggest starting with the E-Myth and then going into that, but wonderful books. And I'm going to beat books across the head with you, because I want you to realize that other people have walked this path and we should be learning from them. So I'm a big book girl. Keeping your blinders up and your head out of the sand at the same time, even though those are like two things that kind of go against each other. So being oblivious to the business finances is not going to work long term. If you are scared to see the truth, you need to rip the Band-Aid off. I do so many consults with people who they don't know because they are afraid to know. So if you are avoiding out of fear, that could be you're not doing production rate audits because you're so scared of what you might find out. You are not keeping up with the bookkeeping because you know you are overspending and you are scared to be faced with those facts. You're not meeting with an accountant because you are afraid that you are not saving enough for taxes, or maybe you owe a bunch in back taxes and you are afraid to face it. And that is not you are going to crash and burn. It's not if, it's when it will catch up with you. So it is better just to rip that Band-Aid off and look it square in the eyes. I know for a lot of us, there's so much shame associated with the mistakes that we have made when it comes to finances. Well, really anything, but especially money. There's a lot of, again, emotions tied up into that. Shame being one of the biggest ones. And shame has really no place in actually benefiting us. Guilt and reflecting can be useful, but being ashamed and feeling stupid, that doesn't help us at all. So if you took out a big loan, or you made a poor financial decision, or you got a bunch of billboards and they're not paying off and you're like, I'm stuck in this contract, blah, blah, blah. You feeling shame doesn't actually do anything. It is important that we get the facts, get a game plan together, and then take action. Taking action and having a plan will always feel better than not knowing and pretending the issue isn't happening. That's not going to work long term. And then on the flip side, you need to be vigilant about keeping your blinders on like you're in a horse race and not letting ego and comparison to other businesses lead your decisions. So I want you to analyze your motives before making financial decisions that will impact your business. In this presentation, I am going to be sharing actual financial numbers. I'm going to tell you how much I make. I'm going to show you what's in my business bank accounts. And that is not to make you feel any sort of way. That is not for you to be like, oh, I'm not there, or to scoff down. I mean, maybe you have way more money in the accounts than I do. That's not the point at all. The point is to show you how our bank accounts are set up and the style we do that, as well as how I've made decisions financially based on my goals. We cannot compare ourselves to other businesses. And you don't know what's going on in other businesses and why things are happening. So if you see something impressive or seemingly impressive from the outside, that means nothing. You don't know what the heck is going on internally, if it's a total mess, even if outwardly it sounds good. Me even saying like, we're 1.4 million a year or whatever. It's like, well, that doesn't really mean anything unless you know how I'm running it, if it's serving my life and my goals. So for example, this is a value of mine. Yesterday, July 1st, I gave my staff over $6,000 in cash bonuses because we do Christmas in July. We started that last year, and this was the second year to do that. That is the message, letting everybody know, hey, y'all getting cash, right? So I don't care what other businesses' profit margins are. That's got no bearing on me and what I want to do with my business. You need to get clear on what you want based off your values and base your financial decisions off of your goals, no one else's. I could pay myself a lot more money if I did not do that. And this is not a pat myself on the back type of thing, like, oh, look how good Stephanie is. No, I want to make a lot of money. However, for me and the purpose of my business and what I want to do with it, a lot of that is because I get my value from being a great boss and a great place of employment and treating them as best as possible. And so saving up for bonuses and giving a bunch of money away, that's what I want to do with the business. I want to donate a bunch to my community. I want to give my employees as much cash as possible. I want to pay them as highly as possible. I want to have the best benefits possible. And so that's what's important to me. And that's what I want to do. And it could be completely different than what you want to do. I hope you want to do things like that, but I could put a lot more money in my pocket if I made different choices. Another example, I have 3 full-time managers that run the operations of my business. I live 20 hours away from my business and I spend not very much time in my actual business. I go about and frolic in my day, took a nap earlier. Like that's what I want to do with my life. So the business is formed around what Stephanie wants to do. So you need to think about what do you want to do with your life? So, if I cut out a manager, I could make another 60 grand a year, right? But then I'm working way more and I don't want to do that. So it's all opportunity cost and deciding what is important to you. Next action items. I want you to write out where you're avoiding taking action on in your business due to uncomfortable feelings. Additionally, journal about any business decisions you have made based on your ego or keeping up with the Jones mentality. Share if you are comfortable. Example, I would love to have a bunch of wrapped cars and like a fleet of wrapped cars. That would feed my ego so much. Be like, oh, everybody would see me. All of the people I went to school with would be like, oh, look at Stephanie. She's really doing well, right? That would be a total ego-based decision that makes no financial sense for our particular business. Some businesses, it makes sense for them to do a fleet of cars. We're super rural. It would not make sense because everybody's got to drive all over the place. And I don't want to maintain the insurance on a fleet of vehicles. So that would not make sense. So if you have any examples that you'd be willing to share of decisions that you've made because you were trying to keep up with another cleaning business, I'd love to hear it. This one, there will be a worksheet link to this particular thing on that checklist agenda I'll have for you at the end. Write out exactly what you want your life to look like. Be specific. I want you to spell out your family life vision, your health vision, your faith vision, your fun vision, like what do you want to do for fun, friends, and finance vision. And now we need to start attaching an actual amount of money to each area to obtain your vision. How much do you actually need to make to have your dream life? It may actually be a lot less than you think. It may be way more than you think, or maybe you've never even thought about this, right? Maybe you don't know like how much money do you want to make for your business. Early on in the business, I did this. I spelled out exactly what I wanted my life to look like. It's taken a drastic turn from that, of course, because that's how life goes. But when it came to the finances, I came to a number based on that. And for me, that was 6 figures. I was like, if I make $100,000, that is more than I could ever dream of, and I will be set for life. Because I remember when I was young, I like a kid, I was like, oh, if I made $40,000, that's a good wage in our area because we're super rural, and I would be set for life. So for me, that number was six figures. And then I was able to say, okay, now we can start working on what should our goals be for the business, and and then how many appointments does that look like, and just kind of work off of that number. So you need to have that number in mind. And I'll share with you my tracking sheet to show you what that looks like when it comes to like, how do I base then the business goals off of that? My book recommendation for this section is Dr. Brene Brown. If you've never read any of her stuff, fantastic stuff. And I thought it was just me. It's a lot about shame. And I think a lot of us are dealing with a lot more shame than we care to admit when it comes to everything. So that's a really good book to give a listen to. Alrighty. So let's get into the basics of financial, I guess, literacy and decision-making in the business. So this business can be started on very little money. I had no money when I started, right? So I waitressed and I was working for my family's company. And at my family's company, I was making $12 an hour. In waitressing, I could bring in like maybe an extra $800 a month. And I lived on my own. I paid all of my own expenses. You know, I made my way through college. So like paid my own way. Didn't get anything from mom and dad. I had like no money. You know, I had very little in savings. So it's not like I could. And that was one of the things that attracted me about this business, which I'm sure you can relate to potentially, is one of the best things about a cleaning business is it's a service. We don't need a bunch of fancy equipment. We need a vacuum and I don't know, like good shoes, right? Something I think we all panic and do when we're feeling broke and scarcity is having knee-jerk reactions and making poor decisions because we're scared and we're panicking. So being broke makes you very creative, right? There is always a way around things that don't involve spending a lot of money. You know, I want you to think about things. I want you to Google. I want you to listen to books. You know, go to your library. You can go check out books, right? Other people have done things before us, and this is not rocket science, all right? Running a cleaning business is not. It is very simple, but it is very, very difficult to execute and to be disciplined with what needs to occur. But it's not complicated. You know, there is an affordable solution to your problem in some point. So one thing that right away, and some of this may be like, oh, Stephanie, why are you talking about this? You know, a lot of people watching this or who are going to watch this, we're all at different places. So I just want to make sure I cover the basics. Separate business banking accounts for everything from your personal. You never take money out for personal reasons. You transfer the money to your personal accounts as an owner's draw or owner's earnings. I like to limit cash usage as much as possible for both spending and income. The reason why is because then it's hard to track what that expense was, where if I see that in the bank account as like a charge, I have that trace. And I'm not a big cash gal when it comes to that. Get receipts for all purchases and create receipts and invoices for all income. We want a paper trail. And if you don't know anything about bookkeeping, you need to start learning about bookkeeping. Like not knowing how to do something is not an excuse. We are going to keep accepting for ourselves in order to avoid, because that's easy to say. I meet with a lot of people and they're like, oh, I'm just not good with money, or I'm just not good with the books or whatever. I'm sorry, but if you're going to own a business, you need to be. And this is like a basic skill you have to get down, because no matter how good you are at cleaning, no matter what a great boss you are, why do businesses fail? Finances. That's like one of the main reasons is going to be finances. And so if you are not comfortable with bookkeeping, take a bookkeeping course. There's great resources online. There's whole YouTube like course videos that are for free on basic bookkeeping. It's not complicated to bookkeep. I think that you should have a basic understanding before you outsource that, so that you can check in on accountants, so nobody's doing you dirty, or you're not having an employee steal from you and you not even realize because you can't see the basic numbers and things like that. So bookkeeping is a necessity. QuickBooks Online, Zero Wave, they're all excellent options. I use QuickBooks Online. That's just what I was comfortable with from working at my parents' company. That's what they use. So that's what I use now, but there's tons of great ones. If you're not making any money / not able to pay yourself anything, something ain't right. You need to have the habit in place that you pay yourself, even if it is just $5 in the beginning. You need to start paying yourself, because otherwise it's so easy to push off. I'll pay myself later. And then later never comes, because something is always more important seeming. And again, that scarcity mindset definitely is in place. Keep your supplies simple and monitor how fast staff is going through your most expensive products. Is there a less expensive solution? For example, we don't use toilet bowl cleaner at all. We use baking soda. We'll just put baking soda in it, use it for abrasiveness in the toilet, obviously like a disinfectant on the actual seat and things like that. But toilet bowl cleaner, that adds up. Another example is the like disposable toilet cleaner heads. We have those in everybody's kits for move outs and vacant homes. However, they're explicitly not supposed to use those unless they have no other option, meaning there's no toilet brush. So that is something we require our clients to have, is a toilet brush on hand, so that we are not going through that, because those add up quickly. Dawn, things like that. And it could be, what if an employee is stealing supplies, right, and taking them to their house or using them for cleanings outside of your cleaning. So there's a lot of reasons to watch that. And if you seem to be flying through things, maybe there is an alternative solution. We keep things very simple. Our main cleaner is literally Dawn, like a couple drops of Dawn with water and some essential oil for scent, which we just get cheap packs off of Amazon, again, just for scent. So that's what we're cleaning the majority of the house with, and then vinegar and water for glass cleaner, like the most cheap potentially cleaning products ever. We're really big on tools, pumice stones, steel wool, that type of stuff. And having, drills with attachments. So we're not having to throw a bunch of chemicals, because we really tout ourselves on being a green company as much as possible, which I enjoy. But a lot of that has to do with money too. We want to run a tight ship when it comes to supply costs. Just like anything, you need to build the habit of keeping the finances in order. For example, every Tuesday, I have a reminder in my calendar. Well, I use ClickUp, which is like a task management software, but your Outlook calendar, your Gmail calendar, just put reoccurring reminders into it for everything. Don't try to be proud and remember everything. That's not going to work. So just like anything, you need to build a habit. So every Tuesday, I have a reminder in my calendar to update our KPI tracking sheet. I did that this morning. Every second day of the month, I have a reminder to audit last month's budget and review the numbers with my managers. It's a habit. And if you are struggling with remembering to do things, which most of us are, you got so much stuff going on, you need to put reminders in place to make yourself as successful as possible. Action item number 4, listen to Profit First. This is very important. This is the book. Go on Amazon right now. Well, not right now. Pay attention to the talk. But after the talk, go get Profit First, either in book form or Audible book. It is life-changing. I attribute this book and this method to 80% of the financial health of the business, because it forces you to budget and it forces you to be smart and not be spending money that you think you have when you really don't. And to put it simply, it's setting up several different bank accounts and transferring on a regular basis from the main one. And what this does is it forces you to budget. So it's not all sitting in an enticing pot thinking, oh, I've got $100,000 or whatever, I've got $10, I don't know. And instead it's splitting it up and allocating it to what that money is going to be used for. So you can do a bunch of accounts. These are our actual bank accounts from earlier today. We have revenue, operating expenses, business savings, tax, and owner's pay. Revenue and operating expenses are checking accounts. The rest are savings accounts. All of the money that flows into the business goes into revenue. We don't spend any money from revenue. The only place that money is being spent out of is operating expenses. From there, business savings, tax, owner's pay, those are all allocated to be savings accounts. And all you do with Profit First is you figure out the percentages that you want to allocate to each account, and then you transfer that money from revenue and divvy it up amongst each of them. So when I do my tracking sheet every Tuesday, I am going into our bank accounts. I'm transferring 8% into owner's pay, 2% into business savings. Tax is variable depending on how much we already have enough saved up for taxes. So right now I'm not putting anything into tax because we've got plenty in there right now. And then the rest into operating expenses. I like, for me, the whole abundance mindset, I like having a very healthy, hefty operating expenses account, checking account. I never want to worry about it running out of money. So there's a lot of stuffing in there of just that's where I like to leave a lot of money for my own comfort so that it never gets overdrawn. And for us, payroll every week is $20,000, something like that. So I kind of need a lot of money in there. So yesterday, for example, we did $6,000 in cash bonuses that came from business savings. I took that and transferred $6,000 into operating expenses and then took the money out of operating expenses. So everything's coming out of operating expenses. Everything else is just for savings. And so it's okay, come Christmas time, I'm going to have enough money, plenty of money saved up for Christmas bonuses. And you can decide how you want to do the accounts, but all of this to say, profit first, it forces you to budget. And once you get into the habit of it, and there's some more stuff, I'm really simplifying it, but it is fairly simple. So go read that. All right. So next, I want you to write out a State of the Union bulleted list. State the financial facts of the business. How much money do you owe, if you owe any? How much money are you spending on each category of expenses? Are you bookkeeping? Are you paying taxes? What are you spending on without a lot of return on investment? So it's really just, like word vomit onto a page of like, what is going on when it comes to the money and the business and how is it running? Just see where it is, see where you're at. And that, because we can't do anything if we don't know where we are, right? That's the whole point of tracking is, you can't change anything if you don't know what is actually going on, right? Okay, covering your ass, I'll say it. I swear a lot, so we're all adults here. I can say butt. Covering your ass. The other reason that businesses go out of business is because they get sued or they do not have proper insurance and something totally just bankrupts them, right? So have a strong defense system in place and it will help protect your business from financial threats. You need proper insurance. If you are using independent contractors, you need to have their insurance policies on hand and make sure that those are up to date. I have seen that not in cleaning companies, but in other businesses, trades and things like that, where they're using independent contractors that I see did not actually have insurance. The main contractor thought they were, and a guy's leg gets chopped off or whatever happens, and then you're bankrupt, right? Because it happened under you. So I have all employees, they all have workers' comp, we have general liability. Like last year I spent $60,000 in insurance to be properly insured amongst all of the insurances, and that's just how it is. You need proper insurance. You're a business. That's how it goes. Client guidelines that are signed and extensive signed employee documents are a must. This protects you from a variety of unpleasant situations. I could list about 700 unpleasant things that have happened because I did not have the guidelines in place that we do today. And so get those in place. Obviously, I have those available. I'll talk about those a little bit later. But it is important because that will help protect you from things like people getting unemployment from you that they shouldn't, and all sorts of things. Even as simple as people would quit. They would not be very prone to returning their kits, because why would they? And you can't withhold anything from their paycheck unless they agree to it. That's illegal. You can't just say, I'll take it out of their last paycheck, unless you have a document that they sign at the beginning, and then you can do that. So that's a good example of a policy in place that will protect you from losing hundreds of dollars in the form of your kit, vacuum, etc. Require a card on file for all residential clients and a 50% down payment for all initial cleans. Nobody has a problem with that. I thought people were going to freak out when I opened about like having a card on file, and everybody is so used to it, and they need to pay a down payment so that if they ghost you, if they cancel their card and leave into the dust, then at least you have that to cover your wages and costs. You may not have made anything on that job, but at least you can cover that. And then, the goal is have a card on file so you can charge the card if for some reason you need to do that, or if that's how you have it set up. Have call recording on your phone system and cell phone, and screenshot the crap out of every conversation with employees, if they can, especially if they are in an app that they can delete messages, right? So Facebook, well, really anything, Telegram, other than texting, that's the only one I think that people can't delete stuff, and you want to have record of everything. Again, when it comes to claims and employees causing you issues or threatening to sue you, you need to have that proof. So make sure you have all of that documented. Again, this is like that boring stuff that like will make or break your business. When firing someone, have another person in the room / camera in the room, especially if you are opposite gender of the person you are firing. We never want anybody being accused of anything. And again, it's like, what does this have to do with money? Well, hiring lawyers is expensive, or your reputation damaging because you're being falsely accused of something. I can't even begin to think of what the opportunity cost to your business is. You don't want to have a bad reputation in your area. So when in doubt, always just as a rule, have somebody else in the room, or have a camera in the room to show exactly what went down, so there is no question on your integrity. The IRS is not an organization that you want to do wrong by. So if you are paying staff under the table / running employees as independent contractors incorrectly, this will bite you eventually. It will catch up to you. May not be today or tomorrow or next year, but long term, it will catch up to you. Pay your taxes. We are businesses. I'm not saying pay more than you need to, but pay what you are legally obligated to do. So I've, again, talked to a lot of people who are paying under the table. And because, quote, they can't get anybody who wants to not be paid in cash. It's like, I don't know what to tell you there other than you need to you need to be firm on this. And it's really hard to switch people over from being paid under the table to paychecks because they're going to be annoyed and frustrated by all of the things that are taken out in taxes and whatnot, Social Security, etc. So just in general, just pay your dang taxes. And finally, I highly recommend a prenup or a postnup if your spouse is not involved in the business. Remember, you already have one dictated by the government. Every single state has rules of what is marital property and what is going to be divvied up in the business. No one acts as you expect during a divorce, especially towards the money. And side note, I got divorced last year, and this was something that nobody wants to go through, but the financial ramifications of that action on my business, I'm very grateful that we made it through it. I'm grateful that my business is even still in existence and I did not have to sell it to pay him off. He was not involved in the business at all. But once those numbers started rolling and he got a shark of a lawyer, I had to get my business valued, which I believe just to get it valued was preliminarily $7,000. I had to pay all the lawyer fees, obviously, and it was a 1.5 year battle because he was coming after Serene Clean, and I haven't shared that really publicly, but I want to be transparent with you guys because these are the things that can make or break your company. So I know people get this is a touchy one, but let's just talk about it. We're talking about money, right? And so that is why I did not push for growth last year. We were lower in revenue last year. That was highly intentional because every single dollar that Serene Clean made was potentially $1 in his, or 50 cents, I suppose, in his pocket, because Wisconsin is a marital property state, meaning everything when it comes to the marriage, even your business, even if they have nothing to do with it, that is marital property. So it was a nightmare. Luckily, we were able to settle. But that was a huge financial hit to the business, and we made it through, and I learned a lot. But if I can tell you anything, please get a prenup if you can, or get a postnup. Have that in writing. You need to talk about it. And I know that is uncomfortable, but again, you already have one dictated by the government. So that's what I'm going to say about getting divorced. So if anybody else has gone through that in the business and it has been a terrible financial situation, please make me feel better. But it's all good, lesson learned. And also the business made it through and we're going to be stronger than ever. So it could have been a lot worse for sure. Action items number 5 and 6, meet with business insurance professionals in your area. Have them point out blind spots in your coverage. Get a few quotes and get properly insured. So I had a Next Insurance when I started. It was, just online. I'm sure you've seen the commercials. It was like $42 a month, and which was great. It did cover me. But as soon as I started getting employees, I did go to a local insurance broker, and they were able to answer a lot of my questions. Secondly, meet with tax professionals and accountants in your area, which is accountants in your area. Create a list of questions before your meeting. You want someone who works with other home service companies with a heart of a teacher. If they make you feel stupid, they ain't the one. Commit to a tax payment plan. So the first accountant that I used was my parents' business accountant, who was just in the local town, Tammy. And Tammy made me feel like an absolute moron. She made me feel that I didn't know, she made me feel stupid. You've talked to people who make you feel stupid. I'm not stupid. You're not stupid. So if somebody is making you feel that way, especially somebody that you are giving money to be in your corner to help you be successful, they're not right. So sit down with them. Really, you should vibe with them. My accountant, she's amazing. She's actually a client. She's just the most wonderful person, and she's super knowledgeable. I trust her, and she's really great to me, and she will explain something over and over until I get it into my noggin, because I'm not an accountant, right? Like, I own a cleaning business. I need to understand the concepts though. So look until you find somebody who fits that for you. My not so fun fact, in 5 years, Serene Clean has paid $230,000 in insurance expenses and 630% in taxes, payroll and income tax. I mean, that sounds like crazy numbers. It is, but again, scale. Insurance has been 4.5% of total revenue and taxes have been 12% of total revenue. So that's another reason you have to charge high, because you got all of the expenses to run a business. Knowing your numbers. Tracking your financial numbers as well as key performance indicators, KPIs, every single week helps me keep a pulse on the business. Even though I'm not even here, I'm across the country, but I know exactly what's going on in my business. So we're constantly adding new things to track as the business grows and new problems are uncovered. For example, vacuums were just all over the place. Now we assign all the cleaners vacuums and we track every problem with them. So we know what's going on with our 35 vacuums that we own. So that seems crazy, but again, this is helping us keep everything in control in that particular area because vacuum expenses were getting out of hand. So remember, we eat an elephant one bite at a time. These are the most important things to track, and then you can add things like vacuum tracking once you get everything else that is far down the line of things you should be tracking. Revenue, expenses, and total profit of each week or month. Bank account balances to make sure that they're where you want to be. Accounts receivable, how much do people owe you? How much are you spending on advertising? Number of leads, where they're coming from, and who has booked/not booked. So remember, every time you do not follow up on a lead, it is like lighting money on fire, right? Every lead should be precious, and you should literally basically stalk them until they tell you to go away or they book with you, right? Those are your options. Cry, buy, or die. And not literally, but kind of. We want to just hit them because that's money. Think of it, one client, one residential client, that's thousands of dollars in a year. So if you are just sending the estimate or calling them once and then saying, oh, that's it, like I'm too shy, I don't want, no, you need to beat their door down until they respond to you. Number of reviews on Google and Facebook. Google is most important, of course. I will not be talking about reviews finally in a talk for the first time, but it is super important. What are you spending on supplies and tools? Again, is there a less expensive alternative? And then I do a monthly projected budget and then audit what actually happened each month. A business is no different than a household. Just like I, have my personal budget that I update all of the transactions in. I make sure the bookkeeping is up to date. And then I do a budget. I just do a spreadsheet, say, what did we spend on all categories? I just run a profit and loss report in QuickBooks. That's why it's super important that all of your bookkeeping is up to date. So you actually know where the business is financially. And I say, this is what I think based on, are we paying taxes this month? Is there 5 payroll runs or 4 payroll runs? That will be the biggest determinant of our, profit that month. And just say, what do I think is going to happen? And then at the end, or the beginning. So for example, I need to do the audit on June's numbers. That's what I'll do after this talk and say, did it happen as I thought? Did something unexpected happen? Did we do we did better than I expected. It was a good month. Perform regular audits on your production rates and your hourly rate you are making at each client. I've talked about production rate audits ad nauseum. You're probably sick of hearing them, but it is so important. Do gradual price increases when possible and drop clients who do not make financial sense. Travel costs will bite you in the butt if you aren't careful. Charge additional travel fees to clients to accommodate for your payroll costs. And this is something I think I'm including on our checklist here. This is, for example, our little travel chart. This is by all of my managers' desks so that when they're estimating, they can see. So there's a lot of ways to skin the cat of pricing that will work. In general, I think a first-time clean being charged hourly and switching to flat rate to maintenance for maintenance is a good place to be. We do charge hourly across the board for all residential. That works for us, but there's a lot of ways to go about it. All that matters at the end of the day is that you do production rate audits. And I was going to show you examples. Like just yesterday, I had a call with a consulting client, and they're just starting out, and they have like 8 reoccurring clients, weekly, biweekly, etc. And so, we had our meeting, and I literally was like, okay, what did you price out and what's the square footage? And we figured it out. And I just highlighted like, oh, these ones are bad. You didn't, these are red. You need to either bring the time down or up the price. Those are your two options and levers to pull. And it was just that simple. And so production rate audits don't have to be this scary thing. And there will be a how-to in that checklist for you. Okay, action items number 7 and 8 that you will have when you get the checklist is create a tracking sheet and go back to the beginning of the year and fill out your numbers. Schedule a reoccurring time in your calendar each week to update your numbers. And then secondly, do a production rate audit. How fast do you clean? And an hourly rate audit. How much are you making per man hour each client on your move-in/move out cleans, your initial cleans, and your maintenance cleans? If you do not have standardized checklists that your cleaners use, you will not have accurate numbers. So checklists should be the basis of the business, because otherwise you're comparing apples to oranges. What this cleaner does versus what this cleaner does is completely different. You need to have checklists so that you're comparing the right things, and then you can do your production rate audits. So Serene Clean's averages, residential average is $48 to $50 per man hour. New clients being booked at 55. Airbnb's average is 60 per man hour. Commercial average is 50 per man hour. So we are slowly raising our prices for like ones that are grandfathered in at cheaper prices, and it just takes time. We usually do increases at like $3 to $5 per man hour each time. So on to employees. Bad cleanings and bad employees can sink your profits and your reputation. Being the owner means we need to make the difficult decisions and having strength when you feel weak, especially if you're a recovering people pleaser. Well, I'm not even recovering. I would say, hi, my name's Stephanie and I'm a people pleaser. They will not feel confident in you or respect you if you do not have confidence in yourself. So if bad behavior / cleaning is happening, you cannot let it slide. The core of your business's financial success is excellent service. So I'm saying all of this stuff, but if you guys suck at cleaning, none of this matters, right? So I'm talking about finances, but obviously that goes without saying. You guys need to be good at your job. You need to be good cleaners. So this is on you to give your staff the structure and education to be successful. We all like to have a sense of structure and instruction to know, are we doing our job well? What is the expectations I have on myself? Paying well will go far for you. Hourly, percentage, or flat rate all have their advantages and disadvantages. Whichever way you go, give clear time expectations on each appointment, i.e. the appointment is approved for 5 man hours. So when in our Zen Maid notes for every single appointment, it's like, this is scheduled for this much time. It's approved for this, etc. There's something explicitly saying so that they know they're not to go over that without approval. So don't be afraid to be explicit on this. And man hours, I'm going to beat that into your head. Man hours, not clock hours. Because if you have multiple cleaners, I've had that happen before where I went and did a production rate audit with a lady who she had a business for a year. And she was literally making half what she thought she was because she had two people cleaners, but she was looking at clock hours as opposed to man hours. So instead of making 40 an hour, she was actually making like 20 an hour, charging 20 an hour. So not good. Make sure we're going on the man hours. So action item number 9 is going to be write all the issues you are currently / recently have had with staff. Is there a policy you are missing? Have you been enforcing your current policies? Does the structure of the business need to change or new training need to be put into place? You know, the whole I can't get no good help or no one wants to work anymore is a defeatist attitude that will not serve you in this business. The amount of times that every generation has said that young people don't want to work, if I had a nickel, I'd be probably the richest woman on earth, because that is what everybody says. Nobody wants to work. Everybody's lazy, etc. That is not true. There's lots of lazy people, but there's lots of people who want to work. So I hate when people say that. And if that's in your mind, then get out of this business, because we are running a business of people. So you need to have a positive attitude about there are good people. I just need to seek them out and cultivate them. My book recommendation is going to be Extreme Ownership. And that is all about building your accountability. That's Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. And I actually had quotes from this book vinyl on my office wall when we had one of our office we just had in Black River Falls, so that when everybody walked in, that's what they saw. And it's just like, it's my fault. Everything comes down on me, and you cannot get to problem solving until there is ownership. So if there's a lot of blaming going on in your business and finger pointing, this helps you get through that. And I really, I love that book, and it makes you feel like a sissy and kind of knocks some sense into you. So I like that too. I'm a tough love kind of girl. Like, I need tough love until I cry, and then I don't need it and I want to hug or something. But anyway, so Next is going to be systems and generosity. So being generous has created the entire culture of Serene Clean and has greatly contributed to its financial success and made us stand out as a great company. Again, the whole giving money away, it may seem counterintuitive, but the ripple effect of doing that and literally saying, I'm going to be a generous company, what that does for you from a branding perspective, again, you can't really quantify it, but I know for a fact that that has built my business just as much as my Google reviews, because people know that Serene Clean is a generous company. We give to our community. We donate in multitudes of ways, whether that be financial or time, and just doing everything we can, even like building a community. And what I mean by that is every month now this year, I have done small business highlights of other businesses in our community. I make these nice graphics on Canva. I put it in our newsletter and I post it on our Facebook. And what is that doing? That is showing other small businesses in the area, hey, I want to be your friend and I want to do something for you. No strings attached, because I know how much other businesses have helped me. And yes, I have no expectation of anything in return, but inevitably the juxtaposition and paradox is I get a lot of return from that. They are much more likely to recommend me. They look at me positively. When somebody asks for a recommendation, word of mouth wise, they're like, oh, who is that company? It's Serene Clean. That's the one that helped me out with no expectations. So it really is like building your company around generosity. Just think, okay, Maid. Let's give Maid as an example, right? Maid puts out the Maid Summit and puts out all of these resources for free to you guys, what you're watching right now, right? This is kind of very meta that I'm talking about this, but the fact is they're doing all of this and making a community for free, putting out so much value into the community that you're in that people can't help but be drawn to you and be part of your business and hire you or use your services, use your software, right? That's the point of it. And so it's great because you're being good, but you're also cultivating people who want to work with you, right? Having systems and routines for every aspect of the business. If this happens, then we do this. That's literally like what a system in my mind is. If this happens, then this is the chain of events that we're going to do. I cannot overstate the importance of having systems for everything. Checklists are your friend, not just for cleaning. Even in like every aspect, we have a checklist, right? Even to like just everything I do has a checklist because I want to take thinking out of things as much as possible. It's much easier to just say, this is what I need to do instead of staring into the abyss and wondering. Do not be a yes man to every project, especially if the tasks being asked are out of your typical scope. Add-on services are a wonderful way to drastically increase revenue. However, only do that when you are ready. Do not nonchalantly jump into something like carpet cleaning or window cleaning or grout cleaning until you have put the time and effort into training properly and hiring techs that are going to do the job properly and really knowing what you're about to get into. That's definitely a big learning lesson that I had is we jumped into carpet cleaning way too nonchalantly and I didn't know enough at all. We are not experts on it and it felt really icky because one of our core values is integrity. And I jumped into doing carpet cleaning before I was really knowledgeable enough about it. And I was doing the jobs of like, we didn't have the right equipment in place because I was trying to be cheap and I did not want to spend the money it costs to buy proper carpet cleaning equipment. And so the jobs were not coming out I knew it and it felt really wrong to me. So we have discontinued carpet cleaning for the time being until probably next year when I have the time, not even the time, when I have created the time and we really have a system in place for implementing that properly and giving the customers what they deserve. So that's a perfect example for me of like, hey, you shouldn't have done that. Just because people are asking for it doesn't mean it's not a bad idea. Obviously, lots of cleaning companies do carpet cleaning, but do it properly. And so it could just open a can of worms. There's a lot more investment, higher skill, and potentially more danger associated with a lot of those add-ons. So like window washing, for example, that is a lot higher insurance risk and, risk to your staff members. So do your due diligence. Don't just say yes and be like, I'm going to do it all. Get really, really good at residential and commercial cleaning. Like get really good at that. Be the best at that. And then you can start looking at those other things. Don't like do it all right away. That's just a recipe for disaster. People want to work for and with caring companies, bringing it back to what I talked about earlier when it comes to giving. So just having a good reputation is key. Your reputation is so important, especially if you're in small areas like I am. Like if one bad thing gets out about you, like that you're a bad company, or you treat your employees like crap or whatever, that can really, really hurt you. So at the end of the day, focus intently on giving the client what they need. Be curious about them. Dig deep into the problems they are having. It will make providing them the solution very fluid and relaxed. And then it doesn't feel like selling. It feels like you're problem solving and coming up with something that's actually going to help people. And then it doesn't ever, like, people feel so like icked out by selling, but at the end of the day, like, they're looking for a house cleaner, right? Typically people are calling us, they're Googling us, they're filling out our quote request. So all you're doing is helping them get what they need. So remember that. Don't feel gross selling. It's you're providing a valuable service. You are agreeing together. You're not taking advantage of anybody. So if you have that feeling, or even subconsciously, again, have a feeling that you're doing something wrong or taking advantage of them, even if you are charging high prices, like, we want to charge high prices. It's a good thing to charge high prices. It's a good thing for the customers that you are charging high prices, because that means you are paying your staff correctly and you're not getting people who are getting paid $7 an hour and are going to like steal everything in their house, right? We want to have high paid employees because it's good for everybody. Action items number 10 and number 11, create a list of ideas of how you can be generous in your business. How can you be a vessel of good in your community? Choose one idea to implement this month. And then finally, what tasks do you do repeatedly that you don't have a process documented for? Create a list of tasks that you need to create a checklist for. My book recommendation for this topic is Good to Great by Jim Collin. I love this book. It is really, really good, and it's really becoming a great company. And how do you set yourself apart from the good ones? And then finally, my current book that I am listening to and getting a ton of really great ideas from for increasing profits for any service-based company and serving clients in the best way possible. And it is called What Should We Do by Joe Crisara. And I'm about halfway through it, and I'm already like teeming with ideas of, how can I increase profits? Specifically looking at commercial. That's what I'm going to be looking at in that particular area. And also, how do we serve the client as much as possible? Page Profit First allowed me to be successful with zero business experience. Yes. And what I love about Profit First is, like, it forces you to pay yourself, right? You get in the habit. From day one, I was paying myself. I think and the percentages change as you grow, because my administrative costs are very high, but that's because I want the business to serve me by having incredible like freedom. Time freedom is what I'm paying for. So I want to make 6 figures, and I want to have my time freedom, right? Those are my things. And I have both of them now. And so now it's like, okay, I want to spend money on my staff and the company. That's more important. So yeah, I'm just going to make more money, but really not, I don't need to make that much more. Like I'm really happy and content with that. And because I have the life I want, right? So Profit First, like, I think when I began, I paid myself like 15 or 20% of revenue because I was just by myself. There was like no expenses pretty much, but that was still like low because there was no money coming in. And right now I pay myself 8% of revenue. What was the last book you just talked about? That is called What Should We Do? ? Joe Crisara. And if you go to that checklist link I put on, there is a link to all of the Amazon books for Audible or physical books. Amar has something like 2,000 books in his Audible library. So of course his recommendations make waves here. Zen Maid. Yeah. Books I can't begin to like describe. If you are not reading, you need to be doing that. If you are still in the field in any capacity, the whole time you're cleaning, unless you are like talking to employees or customers, you should be listening to books. And then I literally just record and I do this anytime I'm driving, I'm listening to books, I'm listening to podcasts. And what I do is I literally just open up Facebook Messenger and I audio record a message to myself, because otherwise I forget everything. I don't like to text out notes, because usually if I'm listening to a book, it's because I'm doing something else. And like if I'm walking my dog, I don't want to be texting out my notes. I just pause the book and I make a audio note. And I think Audible might have an option where you can do that right in the app, but I'm not super tech savvy. Rochelle, I'm just here to say I appreciate your charts and the knowledge you share. I've been in the business for 32 years and I love hearing someone who shares great advice. Most talk just to talk. Your stuff has weight to it. Well, thank you, Rochelle. I find that transparency, I think, like, I've never seen anybody talk about like the money like that, like I've just done. I mean, I'm sure there are people who have done it, but I think it is important for us to actually see what is possible, right? I have 3 managers who make between $28 and $30 an hour. I give them a 1% revenue share every month that they split up 3 ways, health insurance, 401k, we're doing paid holidays now, hefty bonuses in the form of Christmas bonuses, July bonuses, and then everybody, like once a month, an employee gets $100 in the mail. We pick one and write them a handwritten letter. So like all of these decisions, Stephanie could make more money, right? I could take home a lot more money, but that's not the point here. I've reached my like financial needs, and so at that point, what's going to give me a lot more value is going to be like, I guess, putting money in the business. But really what I mean by that is like making these types of decisions, as well as being really generous in the community. This has been a joy, and I can't wait to do another one next month, maybe. Otherwise, have a great day, guys. And yeah, talk to you later.